Hi everyone, I'm Matt from Look Into Bitcoin, and today we're going to be looking at if the recent price action for Bitcoin is actually breaking any of the Bitcoin charts. To do this, we'll be using a number of resources, all freely available on lookintobitcoin.com, your number one source for Bitcoin information. If you haven't already, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to ensure you're receiving all of our content as soon as it's released. So right now we're just on the Look Into Bitcoin site, and here specifically on the Bitcoin Rainbow Price Chart Indicator. And a few people have been pointing out on social media platforms and in other YouTube videos that due to the current price action where Bitcoin has actually dipped beneath this bottom rainbow price chart band, that this metric is actually no longer viable and is no longer useful for Bitcoin traders and investors. However, I think something that many people aren't really considering is that a lot of these on-chain charts and a lot of these fundamental market cycle charts are actually only presenting to us the closing data of Bitcoin's price action. So we're only seeing the closing price rather than the actual highs and lows that each exchange may experience due to Bitcoin's intraday volatility. So we can see here, while Bitcoin right now is actually outside the Bitcoin Rainbow Price Chart Indicator, which obviously isn't a great look, there are instances in the past where we have actually dipped beneath this before. It just may not be obvious because most of these indicators are calculated using the closing price rather than the actual highs and lows of the Bitcoin price. So if we look, just for example, at this COVID 2020 dip, we can see here on around March the 13th, we can see the Bitcoin price closed at around $5,400, $5,500. And the bottom of the Bitcoin Rainbow price band was about $4,850. And once we see this price action, we may assume that Bitcoin bounced exactly at the bottom band of this rainbow. And from there, it kickstarted the new bull cycle, and that really marks the bottom. So we could see, potentially just looking at this in isolation, that the Bitcoin rainbow bands held strong and they were never broken. However, if we go onto the Bitcoin price chart here, so I've just loaded up on the weekly chart, but if we drop down onto the daily and zoom out a little bit, we can see here during the COVID 2020 crash on the 13th of March, we can see we actually had a wick bottom on the Bitcoin price that had a low of around $3,880. So that is significantly beneath the bottom of the Rainbow Price Chart Indicator. So we actually whipped around $1,000 beneath that before closing above and kicking off the next cycle. And there are multiple instances of other indicators showing similar examples in the past. So a lot of people are also pointing out that the stock to flow model is definitely without use anymore. It's broken and it doesn't give us any value. And we can see, obviously right now, things don't look great. We can see we've deviated very far from what the stock to flow model is predicting. And we can see on the oscillator that we're far below what some may consider Bitcoin's fundamental, fair, intrinsic value. But again, if we just go onto the price charts, and here we can actually see, using the TradingView indicators that are available with a Look Into Bitcoin subscription, we can see live on any time frame the current stock to flow model prediction and the oscillator here. And we can see, obviously, things aren't looking ideal. We are very much beneath what the model is predicting. However, this is an unforeseen territory. We can see on the oscillator here that multiple times during Bitcoin's price history, we have actually been beneath where we currently are in terms of oversold conditions on the oscillator. So if I just zoom in a little bit, we can see in the previous Bitcoin cycles, the oscillator actually bottomed out at around minus 0.3 and minus 0.2. So very much beneath the model predicted value. And if we just zoom into where we currently are, we're actually just about reaching one of those previous lows in the oscillator at around 0.2. So this is an unforeseen territory. This isn't anything we've never seen before, and we can't disregard multiple on-chain metrics just due to the current price action. We may see that these are actually, in hindsight, when we look back in a few months' time, that this was an obviously great time to accumulate some BTC. We can see, looking at the stock to flow model here, that once we actually look at the bands and ignore just the main metric line here, that we're actually at the bottom of the fair value band. So again, some people are actually seeing this as a great area to pick up some discounted BTC rather than just assuming that the models are broken and maybe there is not as much utility for these on-chain models going forward. If anything, once you see that these models are at their absolute limits, that this should be a really good indication that Bitcoin is potentially incredibly oversold, and accumulating and dollar cost averaging in for the future right now seems like it might be a wise decision. So just to summarize, some market cycle charts such as the Bitcoin Rainbow Price Chart Indicator and the stock to flow model are seemingly becoming less effective. However, there are multiple examples throughout Bitcoin's price history where the sentiment was similar to today, where no one could see that these models would provide any value going forward and that the price action had just simply broke these models. But in all of these circumstances, Bitcoin then went on to provide huge returns. In every single one of these circumstances, where all hope was lost and everyone was giving up on the on-chain and market cycle metrics, that these were actually some of the best times to accumulate BTC. If you like this video, then please visit lookintobitcoin.com, where you can also consider becoming a site subscriber to gain access to live chats, in-depth newsletters, indicator alerts, private trading view scripts, and more, all for a fraction of the standard industry price. You can also come onto the site. If you weren't aware of the two metrics we discussed here, it goes more in depth on the Look Into Bitcoin site regarding their calculations and why these charts are useful. Also in the comments down below or on Twitter, if you tweet at us at LookIntoBTC, let me know your thoughts. Do you think that these models are becoming less and less effective, or do you think that right now is the time to actually seize the opportunity to try and accumulate as much discounted BTC as possible? Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.